Now, back to the top, we're looking at the invasion in Nairobi, the Uganda's exploits at the Magical Kenya Open. Uganda's golfers, packed their bags, crossed the border, and took on the biggest East African, people out there at the Magical Kenya Open. I don't know if they did well out there or they were just sightseeing, but well, we're yet to know. So, so
Well,
Mark, tell us.
the Magical Kenya Open was a challenge tour event, and then it became a DP World Tour event. The DP World Tour is the European Tour. The challenge tour is the level below the European Tour, so it graduated to become a DP World Tour event, which is just the level below the PGA. The PGA is the highest level of golf, where you have the elite golfers, the Xander Schauffele's, the Rory McIlroy's, Scotty Scheffler's, and all.
Okay. But does the PGA only have the majors? Because we know we have the three majors in the US and then
the British Open. No. The PGA has many other events, many other calendar events. You have the Players Championship, you have the WGC Match Play. They have many other tournaments on their calendar.
So then you come to the DP World Tour.
Then you come to the DP World Tour. But sometimes you've had some DP World Tour players qualified to play for some PGA Tour events, and then you've also had some PGA golfers come and play DP World Tour events. Like when I was in Antwerp in Belgium, we watched Luke Donald, who's a PGA golfer, competing, was given 200,000 euros to come as just an appearance fee to compete in that event. Yeah, in a DP Tour event. Okay. Rory McIlroy is always playing in Dubai because I'm very, very sure that the Dubai guys give him some couple of millions of dollars to take part, because McIlroy is an elite name in golf and such a very big draw. Probably he commands the biggest draw of all the golfers today in world golf outside of Tiger Woods. And he's always competing in the Rest of Dubai event, year in, year out. He was there. He's been winning it a couple of years, and he'll also be there this year.
Okay.
So
that's the level where the Kenya Magical Open is.
Yes, that's the level.
DP World Tour event.
DP World Tour event.
How many of those are in Africa?
Actually, South Africa. It's Kenya and South Africa. Actually, right now as we speak, they've headed to South Africa. Where they'll be holding the South African Open in Durban. That's going to happen next week.
Okay. So that's how big this event was.
That's how big this event was. Only in Kenya and South Africa have got a couple of them, quite many of them.
How
so
often?
Typically, it happens every year.
Once a year?
Once a year, okay. Yes. Okay. So usually it oscillates between Feb and March. Last year it was in March, and now it was held in Feb. But you have the biggest names on the DP World Tour. I'm talking about names like Conor Syme. You're going to get names like Nineba. You're going to get Nacho Elvira, Manuel Elvira. You're going to have Eddie Pepperell. These are big names. Darius Van Drilo, who won it last year. Big names on the DP World Tour. And what even made it more lucrative is because the guys who were there were not just competing for the $2.5 million kitty. There's also they're fighting for the Rest to Dubai points, Like I said, that's the event which climaxes the DP World Tour.
The Dubai one. So you have to accumulate points over the season.
Accumulate points, which is actually which translates into money, over the course of the season. So it was historic for Uganda in the sense that you had two golfers, an amateur, competing there for the first time in Joseph Chinyai. And then you had Willie Dels Chitata, who competed as a professional. Obviously, they found the going tough because for many reasons. First and foremost, this was their first time competing at this level. Now, the DP World Tour is nothing like they've competed before. For Chinyai, he was a late replacement for Godfrey Nsubuga. Sorry, not Godfrey Nsubuga, for Michael Alunga. I remember I told you guys last week that Michael Alunga had won the Kenya Amateur Match Play Championship.
Yeah.
So he was supposed to represent Uganda, but he had beaten Chinyai in the final. Alunga is in the US in a golf college, so the union requested the organizers of the Magical Kenya Open to replace Alunga with Joseph Chinyai, who had lost the final anyway. So Chinyai was there, funded by the Uganda Golf Union and Absa Bank, and he played 10 over on the opening day and 9 over on the following day, which was 19 over. So while Wiledos Chitata, who qualified as a professional after playing 36 holes at VetLab, played I think 6 over on the opening day, and then he withdrew on the following on day 2. But regardless, even if he hadn't withdrawn, wasn't going to make
So
the
none
cut.
of them made the cut. Even
There
Chinyere
was
didn't make
there
the
was
cut.
no East African golfer who made the cut.
Not just
What?
Ugandans, but no,
No
East African.
African golfer. Kenya had more than 8 representatives.
8.
Yes, they had Riz Charania, who started very well, shot 2 under. Daniel Nduva shot 1 under on day 1, and we felt like maybe they are within a chance. But Daniel Nduva is just he's a madman, because the following day played 15 over. Riz Charania also played, 8 or 9 over. Mzee Wakazi, Dismas Ndiza also failed to make the cut. I mean, none of them made the cut. Mudai Chibugu and Greg Snow and all the likes. I mean, that's the level that the DP World Tour is.
Level,
because the guy who led day 1 and day 2, Parry Jones, the Englishman, he's ranked 110th in the world. He shot a 64 on the opening day. I think 63, which is 8 under. He had a card of 10 pars and 8 birdies. Parry Jones, quite a magnificent golfer. He was driving straight.
Didn't drop any shots.
Didn't drop any
on day
shot.
1.
Even day 2, he shot a 65. So he was the leader. But the difference between, and this is just for context, the difference between Parry Jones, was the day 1 leader, and Uganda's Joseph Chinyere, who finished the opening 2 days, because Wiledos Chitata didn't hand in the second card. He pulled out injured after with like 3 holes, 4 or 5 holes to go on day 2. So basically he withdrew. But the difference between Parry Jones and Joseph Chinyere, Uganda's the Ugandan amateur competed, was 37 strokes
37 strokes.
over the 2 days. So that's the difference.
Over 36 holes.
Over
Yeah,
36
that's a
holes.
stroke per
Yeah,
hole.
yeah, but Chinyere was very, very, he was very, very honest about his adventure. In Mutharika, he said, listen, this was my first time at this level, and everything was new to me. First of all, there's experience, because you're looking at all the DP World camera stands. The towers are all over the course. The gallery alone, quite a huge gallery, all these global television audience, and then you have all these, the guys alone, the DP World Tour guys, these are guys who are just their kit alone. They're very, very smart. And listen, that's intimidating for a golfer. When you're standing next to a guy who's putting on the latest type of designer golf shoe, he's sparkling on the tee, the pants, the gloves,
Everything.
he told me, I mean, for me, just standing there, for me, it was an achievement. And indeed it was. He said he stand with a guy, he said he played with a guy called Freddie Short, and the guy was playing his 4-iron way longer than Chinyere's driver. Chinyere has fairly good distance. And said he was marking his 4-iron past my driver. And listen, he was honest and said, for me it was a learning experience, because this was a different level, a level close to nowhere I've been before in my life. And if I tell you, I mean, I don't want to narrow the DP World Tour to just the failures of the Ghanaians, because none of the East Africans made it. The Malawian Paul Chidale, who finished behind Chitata at VetLab, he was the last on the card. The guys who failed to make the cut. He was the tail ender over the 2 days. So eventually,
Were there any Rwandese golfers?
no, none of them, because
Tanzania?
Celestine Sanzora failed to make the cut. None of them.
But they were in the draw, the initial draw.
They were initially they qualified. Tanzanian pro golf is not. There's nothing to write home about. But Celestine Sanzwera did compete in the VetLab qualifiers. The guy who won in Rwanda, very good golfer. But remember, these are guys after Rwanda, they flew into Nairobi on Sunday. And then from Sunday, you have no practice round. Then you're going to play at VetLab on Monday. VetLab is a tough course. I played it on Monday, and it's a tough course. You need a bit of a practice round, to get to grips with it. It's quite a long hole. Some holes are very long, 700 yards. So even for the best golfers, you're going to struggle. I met Chitata when I was coming at the airport, and he said, when we played those qualifiers, I was very, very sure that none of us was going to, anyone who qualifies from us, the best 3 was not going to make the cut. at Muthaiga, because if you look at the greens and you can see the greens, the sort of greens, the pictures are right there. He said, these are the greens we're playing at Vet Lab. And I said, you cannot compare this with what we're going to play at Muthaiga. You won't get any feel of these greens. Again, it's what Muthaiga is going to present for us over Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we are disadvantaged. So it had nothing to do with
Why
fatigue.
did they play the qualifiers on a different course?
Well, first and foremost, that course is closed. The course is closed in the tournament week because the qualifiers, it was closed. It was closed. To play it, I think you're given, there was a practice round. On Tuesday, then there was a pro-am on Wednesday, where a couple of Ugandans who were sponsored by ABSA did go and compete. But typically, the course is closed in the championship week of the event. So it was, the fact of the matter is that to play in the Magical Kenya Open, you've got to have your mind in the right place. Previously, the qualification format has been via the Safari Tour, and that's how Rugumaya qualified. So Rugumaya knew way before that I was going to compete in the Magical Kenya Open. So he put in the time, worked on his game, worked on his wages, on his short game, on his mentor, because the psychological bit is very, very important going to the tournament. And then the finances. ABSA made their commitments, bought his travels, gave him a bit of money for the caddies, for the tournament fee, and for the accommodation, and for the balls, for everything. So by the time he got into Muthaiga, he was in the right right frame of mind. Last year. Now, because the Safari Tour had their issues, I meant to understand that part of the challenge is because there's been a change of government. Apparently, Uhuru was a keen golfer. Uhuru comes from a golfing family. Ruto is not exactly keen on golf, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Safari Tour has taken a beating. And that's how the Ugandans are qualifying from the Safari Tour. So they would play, there's an order of merit where the best 8 Kenyans would qualify, along with 2 9-Kenyans. And Rugumaya emerged via that window. But that one wasn't there this time around, so they had to have a special round of qualifiers for the Kenyans, where they got those 8, and then they had to have that 36 for qualifier at Vet Lab. The Kenyans qualified from Sikwana.
Ruto comes from an athletics background.
Being a Kalenjin.
Yes. And Uhuru comes from
but I think for me,
Uhuru is royalty.
Yeah, Uhuru is royalty. Yes.
Golf.
But for me, there are 3 things which stood out. First and foremost, the level of golf in East Africa. I want to talk about Uganda in East Africa. Is still light years behind the requirements of the DP World Tour event, because these guys are. There's a guy I worked with, a gentleman called Bertram Pora, fairly new to the game, and he was in awe. He said, these guys, what they're doing is like, it's magical. The way they chip the ball to the green, they know their wedges, their short game, their routines. For him, everything, it was like he was in some kind of trance. He was in disbelief. And I told him, by the way, these guys...
So you think you're playing a different game?
You play a different game. Actually, I told him, by the way, when you watch these guys, they make us look quite ugly. We who try to masquerade as golfers. And I told him, by the way, you're watching these guys, but when these fellow guys competing against Scheffler and Xander Schauffele and Justin Thomas and McIlroy,
they're in the same spot as
no. They also look.
They're like, wow.
They're like, what's going on? Because they also there's levels to this game.
Because when Chinyai comes back to Uganda, everybody's like, wow.
Everybody's knowing in amateur golf.
At UGC or
so obviously,
we can host.
We have to host. We have, because if we're hosting this event, listen, the amount of forex that came into the Kenyan economy over the last 1 or so weeks, it's incredible. Because you have the accommodation, the flights, and then the nightlife, and just the golf economy alone, the transport, and etc. It's been incredible. The tourism for the Kenyan government, and this is the case which we've tried to make, we as a golf fraternity for the Ghana government, because I think we should be hosting a DP World Tour event in Uganda. Now, the initial funding, you need the government, obviously, because we're talking about millions of dollars. Once there are those guarantees which are made, because there's been the preliminary discussions to that effect, Mark, and Chigo has been identified, because Chigo has got the sort of greens, and Chigo is picturesque. because being next to Lake Victoria, which is one of our big tourist attractions,
Beautiful.
and then because it's a hotel, they've got accommodation right there, so it would deliver the kind of image that you want to project of Uganda to the global audience.
Global audience, yeah. But is the Chigo course challenging enough for that level of golfer?
Well, I think what they'll
You
do.
don't want guys hitting 18 birdies, 16 birdies and 2 eagles.
Well, I think.
Is it long enough? Is it challenging enough?
It's long enough, of course, because one, the greens are the standard greens that the DPO World Tour Management would require. Yeah. That's a given. Two, in terms of the challenge, maybe not, because Chico is a bit of an open course. Okay. The only challenges are the hazards, which is the water, and then the wind. So my assessment is that those guys will probably destroy Chigo because they're very good. They'll do it up. But I mean, if Karen has hosted the DP World Tour event and the wind were getting to -29, -30, then Chigo can also host the event. At the end of the day, you want to have guys who will come and destroy the course.
Yes, absolutely.
For the viewers, you want to watch good golf.
Actually, and it would attract so many other people to the game if they thought it was easy.
Absolutely. Because I know that at least there's been this discussion between the sports minister and the deputy speaker, who is a golfer. Yeah. Okay. So that discussion is happening. But why it's very, very important is because Uganda, Ogumaya was a bit frustrated because he felt he should have been given a wild card. I think.
Having played last year.
And listen,
and played very well, yeah.
To appreciate Rugumaya's feat of 2024, you have to look at what happened in 2025. No East African made the cut. So Rugumaya making the cut was a massive achievement.
Yes.
So I think right now, for us to have more Ugandans competing at this level, we've got to host the DP World Tour event and not beg the Kenyans for more slots, to be at their mercy. Yeah. But more importantly, I think even for us as the EPGA, there's a bit of soul searching to do, because to compete at that level, you have to put in the time. You have to embrace the game at a very, very young age, because you're competing with kids who have been playing golf from the time when they were 4, 5, 6 years. By the time he's 17, 18, he's mastered the fundamentals. His wedge game is up there. His iron game is incredible. He knows his distances. He'll know what shot, how he plays his 54 wedge at a certain altitude. Because the things they do when if a professional golfer came to Uganda, the first thing we'll check is the altitude. Yes. Because you have different distances at different altitudes. And then he's going to check the wind, and then thirdly, the greens, to understand the speed of the greens. Once he does that, he's going to come and remember the course.
Yeah, he doesn't need to have done practice rounds.
No, he doesn't.
But Mark, when you say that, when you say the bit about the money that went into the Kenyan economy and how golf is trying to make a case with the Ugandan government, it's a big thing, because the amount of money, for example, you guys gave Uganda Airlines going away from us.
It was a lot of money. All flights have been full. The flights from Nairobi to and fro, on Uganda Airlines, on Kenya Airways. It's been very, very busy. You couldn't get a flight.
Get a seat,
last week at a seat. And the Ugandan golfers
taking different flights.
And listen, they were there in their hundreds and thousands, because some even drove. You know, so you can imagine if that was the DP World Tour event happening in Uganda.
That money would be coming into this economy.
There were many golfers I saw. The many were saying, did Mark up Nairobi, because they couldn't see me and I couldn't see them. But there were that many golfers who were there. Yes. I can't exhaust all the names.
Didn't you follow the same players on the same hole?
Yes, we did, especially on the final day, because on the pressure group, that was Jacques Cruzwick, the South African who won the tournament, and then Parry Jones. There are many of them, a huge chunk who are following that pressure group. Loads and loads of Ugandans who are there. Edgar Mzaura, Jembe Ruhanga, Colin Subika, Emmanuel Kaitare, Keke, and various others. Tons, Innocent Ndaula, the journalist, and because obviously that was the biggest draw. These are the guys who are going to determine who's going to take the lion's share of the kitty. Actually, Cruzwick, the South African, he won himself the equivalent of 1.6 billion Uganda shillings. Okay. So
It's 1.6 billion Uganda
Yes,
shillings.
so it's not late for you, Mark, to take up the game of golf.
No. It's
No, me,
the things,
I've
the
been
things
thinking
you're
about
saying.
it. I've been
The
thinking
difference
about
between the Ugandan girl at domestic level here and what they were playing on a DP tour event.
Yeah.
For guys here who I mean, I've watched them on 1 or 2 holes when
Yeah.
they've taken me.
Yeah.
And I've been in awe. And now
No,
at this
no,
age, there's no,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, but the critical thing there is that for East Africa, and let me talk about Uganda as a golf, I think.
Okay,
For
yeah.
the UPGA, Deo Kope, my good friend, is the chairman, and they've got a couple of trustees, including Honorable Dixon Katashumba. I think there's a lot of work to be done for Ugandan professional golf because there's been efforts by a couple of individuals. You've started to start the Palo Alto Golf Series, to start a vibrant calendar for the local professionals. But I think the golfers who are going to compete at that level, who are going to aspire to even have a sniff at the caliber of competition which we witness in Nairobi, are kids right now who are maybe 10, 11, 12, because the majority of the current professionals are probably in the evening of their careers. Right now, their chance to compete at that level is probably
To bridge
gone.
that gap.
Wait,
No, it's gone, it's gone.
again,
Yeah.
do we have
It's
that
gone.
The kids
provision?
you've talked about.
Yeah, I mean,
on different episodes here, you've told us about the kids. in
Yeah,
Lugazi,
maybe
for
there's
example.
some of the kids who are in Lugazi who are still young, who are coming up. But Lugazi have got a very, very
So
dedicated
here in Kampala, we don't have that provision
youth program.
kids.
And of course, some people, I mean, King Karisa's son, Shaka Karisa, is playing in South Africa, is in golf school there. Even Moses Masco's son, Banza, who started the game at a very young age. But there's got to be a deliberate effort to say that these kids, you're going to go to school, but you have to start the game early, at a young age, master the fundamentals, the basics, and then the mental aspects of the game. So that by the time you're 17 or 18, you really know how long you hit your 7-iron, into the wind, when there's no wind, at an altitude which is 2,500 above sea level, at an altitude which is 4,500 above sea level. These are things which guys like Cruisewick and Parry Jones and Jaden Shepherd perfected. Eddie Pepperell, they understood and grasped at 10, 11, 12 years. By the time he's 25, 26, he comes to Kenya. These guys, they just come to Kenya maybe a week to the event and he's playing Black Horse 63. Then you have Kenyans. Greg Snow is a member of Muthaiga and he cannot even play level on his course, his home course, where he's learned the game and played the game for a very long time. So there's a difference in skill set, in the mental, and then in the compression, the exposure, and then the experience. It's the difference is like night and day.
Yeah.
So for us as UPGA, I think there's a lot of work to be done to compete at DP World Tour level. You can excel very well here in Uganda, but the gap between East African golf and the DP World is huge.
But I'll tell you, Mark, in reference to other sports, how I appreciate what you're saying about starting really early. And when you talk about, say, privileged parents like Ken Karisa or Moses Masiko taking their kids early to golf school and all, I think it's one of the ways to go. Because when I look across Ugandan sports history, and the efforts, those are efforts which have come from private people, especially parents, but also other private individuals. When Ugandan football at schools level, for example, was at a very high quality level, Father Ryan Achitogo used to send guys to the US. Already you're sending them at a late age. Yeah, if you're saying there's the Smokies and all those guys who went to the US, the Samokasas and all, that's already late.
Yeah, that's
so late. Which is why they didn't make it into the pros. Guys get there, they play, and yet the US is not the highest level of football in the world.
No.
Get there, they play a bit. They have a lot of catching up to do with the guys they find in there. Eventually, you start dropping interest. And the time at which the Biasimas and Agre Bukores, the Agre Bigalas and Jeffrey Bukores left. It's the same thing as you saw with, say, tennis. Cedric Babu who goes to tennis school in the US, but that's already at what, college level?
I mean, it's already old.
Yeah, that's already college level.
Yes.
I mean, for us as a teenager, but that's already late. He should have been doing it. Mr. Babu should have been sending him at 4-5 when they realized that Cedric Babu could play tennis. Or Duncan Mugabe, I think, went to the US at around the same time. You've seen, say, you see Bebe Cool sending Alpha Sadi now to try and go to Spain, get measured and all. I mean, a parent like that who's very enthusiastic about that and has decided that their kid is going to take that career. Because in the past, Ugandan parents didn't make that decision.
No, they didn't.
And government efforts, of course, were scarce
Yes.
in that direction, deliberate direction of natural talent away from here, just so it could catch up. So, so the time that Bebe Cool is sending Alpha Sadi now should have been 10 years or 10, 12 years before. There's an effort now. He's still of age. He can make it. But imagine if he had gone 12 years earlier.
Oh,
You saw when I was still playing in the league in basketball, the generation of guys who came after us also went to the US in the same way as Cedric did. Guys like Humphrey Hakiza, that crop of guys, Paul Dura, they went to the US. That is already late.
Yeah,
Because your college age level, you're supposed to have gone there even before high school, get into that system, get drummed into the fundamentals he was talking about, because the differences in the fundamentals. The guy who started golf at 4.
It's
and
huge.
you who is trying to play at UGC
it's
at even
huge.
20.
Because the thing is, even Kenya have better courses than Uganda. Obviously, I was telling Mark just the number of courses that Nairobi has. There are many. You play Vetlab, you play Sigona, you play Muthaiga, you play Royal, you play Karen, you play Miga, you play Railways and all. But now, if you play golf in South Africa is one of the world's golf capitals. You're competing on various courses, encountering varying degrees of difficulty. Some courses which are links courses. There are some courses which are hilly. There are some courses which have a lot of wind. Some courses which have mountains and valleys. And golf is about basically confronting the varying degrees of difficulty, and demystifying them. Now, if you've learned golf from a tender age and you're playing at UGC, at Entebbe, in the bit of Namlonge, listen, the competition, the challenges there are very, very minimal at best. So you're very disadvantaged when you're competing against a South African kid who's 17. When were the juniors in South Africa, the juniors, Africa Junior Championship, which was in Uganda, I think 2 years ago, you had South Africans who are playing irons, their iron game. Forget about the woods, the drivers and the 3 woods. A kid is 17 years and he's loading his 2 iron with precision, with accuracy and distance on a par 5. A kid with 17 years is playing 2 iron, and he's sitting on a par 5, Now this is a kid who has, and this is South Africa, Chico is a new course for him. But because he knows his distances, he knows his ball striking, he knows, he's very familiar, he knows how long he hits his 2 iron, his 3 iron, he's comfortable, and he's grasped at the altitude. He's just going to come and he'll feel at home in South Africa. At Chigo or UGC, because he started playing this game at a tender age. So glad you mentioned, because golf is, if we're to be honest, it's not exactly a very cheap sport.
No, it's not.
So if you have a privileged child and you have a parent who's enthusiastic and you make the most of it, and the parent understands what this game can do for his son or his daughter,
then he can. Because the thing is,
he can.
when you look at it, Mark, there's a tendency in Uganda, of course, for people to look to government to be doing all these things. Now, government can do a lot of effort in sporting and nurturing talent within the country. But there are certain things which would be beyond it under the circumstances.
It's
best to ask federations and clubs and then individuals like parents and others to start those drives and then perhaps seek government help. Because when you look at, individually, it's much easier. I've talked about the parents now. He's talked about the parents who have sent kids young. I've seen, say, William Bleak. William Bleak has got a son playing football in Italy.
Monza, yes.
In Monza. But he's been on this boy as a footballer for a long time. Because he's a sporting parent who knows exactly the opportunities he missed and what he can do.
And he's been deliberate about it. I credit William for that. He's been deliberate about it.
So you see parents...
Actually, talking about William, William went to just about each and every academy.
Yes.
And we took the kids to Edgar's, to Proline, to all the Al Janoub, and he said for him he was looking at an academy which is going to enhance and develop the talent of his son.
Yes.
It was not about an outing or
Yes,
to
yeah.
passion.
Which is some.
He was
what
very
some parents
deliberate.
actually
He
were
was very
thinking.
deliberate until he ended up with Al Janoub. Because Al Janoub, Janoub is not, let me say, as glamorous as say Edgar's and Proline.
Yeah.
It's somewhere I think in Mutundwe, apparently Mutundwe.
Yeah.
But the kids there, man, I've seen them playing football, Mark.
Yes.
The talent they have, oh my goodness.
It's amazing. Yeah,
It's
because-
amazing. And these are kids who are 8, 9, 10, but the understanding of the game. A kid, before he receives the pass, he knows what he's going to do.
Yeah.
His awareness, his understanding. And I was like, these are kids, some of them are playing on bare ground. But he was saying, this is what I wanted. Because the competition here is going to do a lot of wonders for my son.
kids,
William.
yeah. Now the other, because the parents that I've seen, and again, that bleak name will be mentioned, the parents I've seen again who try and do this much younger for kids, because now there's so many academies. You see football parents are trying and everywhere. And even in other sports, you see the swimmers, the swimming parents
Yes.
start their kids really young.
Really young, very young,
But
yeah.
the exposure is less if it is here. There are
Yes.
some parents, of course, who have still taken kids. You know that some families of kids who
Yes.
are swimming outside of the country and in college in the US and everywhere. They have scholarships even in Europe.
Yeah.
But the parents who have singled out as being really passionate about starting it early are the ones in motorsport, especially the bikes.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Those parents on the bikes,
Oh, yes.
these are Kenas and
Oh, yes.
Habatangas and all.
Yes,
They are
Akena,
kids.
Batatanga,
the Blick family, and all those
the
people.
Blick family,
Yeah.
and all, Amos Wekesa.
Amos Wekesa and
They've
all, yeah.
all been very deliberate, starting their kids at a very, very tender age.
On the bikes,
Oh my
yeah. So
God.
some of the things they can do with these bikes is amazing.
Yeah, and I happened to be with Atanga in Nairobi, and listen, you're with him, and he's talking about his son Dylan and how he's done him proud because. And then he was talking about Dylan's sister, Kiara, and he says Kiara is actually going to be better than Dylan.
These are 8-year-olds he's talking
exactly,
about.
8-year-olds he's talking about. You see,
Yeah.
and that's
But
the
the
age.
things they do on bikes
that's
are
the age.
crazy.
That's the age to embrace all these gifts and to perfect your art.
That's the thing.
It's not
Parents
18,
need
it's
to
8.
recognize that talent early. You know,
Yeah, and
there are
where the
kids who
world
have,
has
you know,
gone,
yeah.
where the
you
world has
find-
gone, sport, there's a time, because we come from a culture where people used to think sport was a really secondary thing.
And Mark, you mentioned
School,
Mark,
books.
there's something you mentioned, Mark, which is very important because the default position is to blame government for
Yes.
every problem. But you see, in most countries in the world, it is actually the private sector which actually does most
Do
of
those
these things.
things, yeah.
It's not
Then
the
seek government support
Then seek
when there's
government-
a program in place.
Absolutely, because
Yes.
if you're going to identify and nurture kids who are 6, 7, 8, that cannot be government's problem.
No.
It cannot.
No.
All right, guys. I know I'm going to keep going on,
Yes.
but I wish I would have been there to see everything that happened.
Okay.
Maybe next time I'll
Please,
start
please,
that off.
just before we move on,
Yes.
next year, Feb 2026, I'm reminding you, Paul and Mark, the Magical Kenya Open.
No, I'll be there.
At the
Yes, I'll be
You
there.
know the reasons why I was talking about
Yes, I know.
this time.
Yes, I
I
know.
wasn't
Emotional
happy,
support
yeah.
will be
Yeah.
there. We'll
I'll
be
be
there.
there.
Sure.
Yeah.